So the other day I had to take my R5 to pieces rather quickly. So this video is going to be about the rebuild rather than the teardown. But before we get going, remember parish notices do apply. So if you haven't subscribed, why not? Consider subscribing. If you want to be notified when content like this hits the channel, that's the bell icon you want to press also. If you like the video, you know what? Give it a good thumbs up. It really helps. Somewhere down there is the website address to join the TMTG community. Support the channel, support the video production, follow the link. Also down there, Facebook, Instagram, or Facebook and Instagram, that's where other notifications about the channel are posted. Now, back to that video. Yes, when I was cleaning the R5, it was a bit more grubby than I thought it was. Specifically, this front plate here, and I had to use some stuff on this, more abrasive than I would normally use, if I'm honest. So I ended up having to quickly take this to pieces, because what I did while I was doing that was I knocked some of this stuff over. Where I was being really careful about where I was using it, I actually knocked over the jar of stuff, and it started getting in between the keys. So I had to quickly take it to pieces, and I'm actually pretty glad I did take it to pieces. And the reason why I'm pretty glad I did take it to pieces is because this is the actual drum machine membrane. So this is the bit that where the big buttons that sit on the front of that drum machine, this is what it strikes onto. And this was absolutely filthy. It really was. There was a lot of muck on this thing, which meant that these things wouldn't have made contact correctly. So that's been given a good clean. In fact, most of it's been given a good clean. It's all been standard washing up liquid, I'm afraid, then run under very lukewarm water to clean all the residue of the dust, dirt, and washing up liquid off these things, and then they've been left to dry for a couple of weeks. So they're now all laid out on the bench, and if I grab hold of the camera, hang on a sec, got to release it from its mount, and do that. You can see all the bits on the bench there, ready to go back together. Back in its mount, that's it, like so. Back at me. So this is the rebuild. We'll see how this works. I'm going to do a standard 2 camera, so I've got a camera there and I've got a camera above the workbench, so hopefully you can see what's going on here. I'm just going to move one of the lights a little bit further in, because obviously if I'm standing here, things in shadow. And let's get going. So the way this thing puts together is everything is mounted on this plastic front plate, in essence. So you start with the plastic front plate and you bolt everything to it. So we'll start with the plastic front plate. Now the first thing to go onto the plastic front plate is this flexible rubber button bar. And this was absolutely filthy when it came off the machine. But effectively what it is, it's just carbon contacts, if you can see that. It's sort of typical of this sort of instrument from this company, being Roland. And effectively what we do is we just layer that in like so, and give everything a good wiggle until they all go through. There's that one there, it's not going through yet. Hang on a sec. And the problem with this thing is quite often the the pieces of plastic that you go through and make contact with are very narrow for the holes. So if I bring that up to camera like that, you can see they're all through. But sometimes it just takes a little bit of a wiggle on the buttons to get them through. But now we've done that. Next piece. So the next bit we want to put in is the circuitry that goes above here. So that consists of several different pieces. First of all, we have to put in this metal shield, and that goes in like so, and just sits round the window. The next thing that needs to go in is this. This is the display, and that just slots into this area here. You can't see it. There's three locator lugs, and you need to just locate this on those locator lugs, and then just push it home. Come on. Question is, have I got it around the right way? Pretty sure I've got it around the right way. No, it's definitely that way around. Try going the other end first, shall we? Just need to go in that end first rather than that end first. Okay, so that's the first thing to go in. The next bit to go in is this bit, and this is the actual contacts that these buttons make contact with, and that slots in here. Again, there is a locator. There's some lugs actually underneath that locate this, so it's there. And then this, which is the display, the LEDs, just slots into that area there. So now that's in place. Now over here, I've got my tray of screws. Each section, effectively, when I took it to pieces, I threw them into one of these little tubs. So this is the screws for this particular area. So just let me move that out of the way, and just let me put something in there just to hold it out of the way so you can see. It's not going to do that. It's not going to play ball, is it? There you go. So there's a screw in the corner. Use my faithful screwdriver. And at this point, I'd always advise you not to do the screws up fully until everything is located properly. Okay, so that's the first screw. And the way I always do this is that if it's got screws in the corner, I always go diagonally. So, or into the corners first, should I say. Now Roland, very nice, because I don't know whether you can see this comes across on the camera, but they're effectively our little arrows where all the screws go in. There's one there, there's one there. So this one goes in here. And then this one goes in there. That doesn't seem to be making good contact. Let's try a different bit. See if we get better. There you go, that's better. Doesn't want to make contact either, probably. Just something a bit wider. That's better. And then what I always do is just go around and tighten all the nuts up. Now remember, this is screws into plastic, so you don't want to over tighten this stuff. It's kind of like it's like a feeling, I suppose, if you like. It's like just over resistance is sort of tight enough for this sort of stuff. So now what we have is we have all the buttons in the right places and the board effectively in place. Now, while we're here at this point, you need to feed this through that. So it's just a case of slotting that wire underneath there like so, because that's where it goes on the next board. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the big buttons in, and they're quite industrial. If you look at these, very thick plastic. But in essence, all that happens here is this just slots into place, and it will only go in one way, like so. Okay, so that's the buttons. The next thing that goes in is this membrane, and again, this will only slot in one way. It has to locate over those lugs there, and this little shield thing needs to come around and go on top. And then there's some locator lugs there to make that fit properly, so it's the right way round. And then the next thing that goes on is this plate. And again, this only goes on one way, which is this way, like so. And then that thing comes around like that. Again, looking at the assembly, we have 4 inner screws that go, and that actually secures the assembly together. Again, remember, don't over tighten these screws because it's only into plastic, so it's just over tight, like so. That's the assembly in. And now what we want to do is we now want to put the securing screws in, which go into the 4 corners. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then again, just tighten those to just over tight, like so. Now the reason why that foil shield goes in here is to make sure that there is an earthing connectivity to the screen, like so. So there you have, that's all the user interface piece of this assembly done. So now we've got to put the guts of the machine in. Okay, so the next thing we need to put in is there is a foil shield that goes onto this thing, and that effectively goes over. Again, it will only go in one way. There's a bunch of lugs, but what we need to do is we need to push all these connectors through this hole, like so, and then that shield sits down like that. And there are 3 screws to secure this. There's 2 there, and then there's 1 that goes in this centerpiece here. That's the center screw, and they're the side screws. So again, we'll put those in. Like so, and then the center screw has a little washer on it. It's designed to make sure it makes contact with the shield. That goes in like so. So that's the shield in, and we just need to route that cable round like so. And that's those 2 bits done. Next bit is there is now a piece of plastic that goes in, and again it will only go in one way. Just like goes in like that and sits on top of that foil shield. Wonderful. Now we get to the board. So this is the motherboard. There you go. And what I am going to do on this is I'm going to change the battery before I put it back together. So the battery sits there effectively. So if I just move this out of the way, and it pops out very, very easily. You just need a screwdriver to make it happen. Actually, you can do it with fingers. Go on. That's it. Standard 2032 battery, which I've got just off camera over here. I took it out of the packet because it always takes me ages to get into the packets of these things. So there you go. There's the battery. All right, job done. And the board can now flip over and go in like so. Now, the way the board goes in is you have to effectively, you line it up slightly away from the end, and then you effectively push it forward. I've actually missed a step. Got to plug the connectors in. So this long connector will only go in one way. Goes in there like so, and you just push it home. And then the blue wire goes into this one, and it actually says blue. I don't know what, you can't see that, but there is actually a symbol that says blue. So the blue wire goes in there. The red wire, therefore, can only go into there, which is the next one. And then this one here fits into there, because it's the only place it can go. Now, try again. And what you do is you line this up. Now, I'll show you. There's a couple of lugs here, so you need to push this piece here just on the other side of those lugs, and then gently lower it down, like so. And then you push it forward, and as you push it forward, you'll feel all these jacks, etc., will push into place. And then that now sits with all the screw holes aligned. So there's 6 screws, if I remember correctly. So we're going to put that back together. They're the main circuit board screws. And change over the bit. And there's one. There's 2. 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can just go ahead and tighten them all up. And the last job to do is to refit this ribbon cable, which just fits, pushes into that socket just like that. Okay, final part of the assembly, put the back on. Here's the back, and the back has this piece down here that needs to slide between the case and this metal shield. But once you locate that, it just slots into place very quickly. Now there are 3 screws at the back, 1, 2, 3, and 6 screws on the bottom. Do the back screws first. There is a very good reason for doing the back screws first, in that you want to make sure that all the holes at the back line up, but don't do them up tightly just yet. That's it. 1, like so. And then do the back screws. Now when you've got them all in, we can tighten them all up. Start with the back screws first. So, and then do the bottom screws. Nearly there. So the final thing we need to do, fit the sliders and then see if it powers up. So the sliders are universal, it doesn't matter which one they go on, so that's the first one. Butterfingers. And that is the second one. There you go. That's all the sliders done. Now, the question is, will it power up? Plug it in. There you go. I don't know whether that's coming across on camera, but that has booted up quite nicely. I'm not going to test it at this point in time. I'm just going to do the rebuild. I'll test it on another video. But thanks for watching. So there you go. Rebuild of the Roland R-5 that was hurriedly taken to pieces the other day. And on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.